Sir, just 2 minutes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, Amazon identified some 2 people who will answer questions among these. Yes, we need volunteers. Please raise your hand who are willing to discuss. No, Surya is going to present the case history, and some questions will have to be answered on the case history. Who will answer? Please raise your hands. Now there is a button on the, when you go to the people, on the right side there is a people, when you choose the people, and then there is a button for raising hand if you want to volunteer. Do all of you know that?
That will be in Microsoft, no, sir.
No. In Blue Jeans also it is there. Go to Blue Jeans. Go to, when you go towards the right side, go to the, take your arrow to the top. Do you see people, chat and other things?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's in the.
Sir, there is some
people
problem with.
icon.
You found it or no?
Yes, sir. It's in the people icon.
Yeah, people icon, when you do, you can see that raising hands button at the bottom. Nobody has raised the hand so far. So that means that nobody wants to take the question. Hey, how can you do a class like this?
vegetable biryani தானே?
So what do we do now?
Manoj is joined and Rufus has joined.
No, same 2 guys are always answering. What are all the other guys doing? Okay, Amazon, why don't you be one of the answers for Surya's case and get one more person?
Yes, sir.
For somebody who has not answered so far. What about is Hafiz there?
Please, I'll call him, sir.
Hafiz, can you hear me?
I'll call him, sir.
No, I want one more at least person who will answer questions. No? Otherwise, there's no point in discussing cases.
Sir, I will take, sir.
Who is that?
Manoj, sir.
But you already took last time, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir.
And then no, let some other also come forward. Everybody has to do some, contribute something. Otherwise, there's no point in continuing this class. Unless people want to participate actively, no, there's no point in continuing. They're not meant for coming and sitting here and passively listening. I see. I'm going to read out the names, and I think people who don't participate, I'm going to remove from the group. I'll read out the names.
Sir, I will take, sir.
Who is that?
I am Dr. Raja Vijender, sir, pediatric cardiology registrar from Apollo, sir.
Okay, you're most welcome to take. Good. Okay, I'm seeing Manoj, Ramesh, So, well, there are two Suryas here. I don't know that. Are you logged on to? Okay, anyway.
I
I
logged
see.
on twice.
Okay, Gunjan is there, Hafiz is there, Logesh is there, RKS, I don't know the full name. So many people are there, but nobody is coming forward. I think people are not active. I will remove them and I'll add people who are more active. Many people are asking me to come into this group. So I think what I can do is people who are not actively participating, no, I'll remove them and put the active people into the group from outside. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, for the time being, who is that? Raja Vijendra and Amudan for time being. Next time, Manoj, Amudan, Raja Vijendra and Surya will not answer questions. I want one of the other people if they're not volunteering, they go out of the group. Okay? Right, let's start. Surya, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready, sir. Is it visible, sir? My
Yeah,
screen?
visible.
Yes, sir. I'll start, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Graph.
He's a 26-year-old gentleman, sir, who works in a jewelry shop. He's from Chennai. No traditional risk factors. He was evaluated elsewhere for chest pain, atypical chest pain, for 3 months, on and off. It was not related to any exertion. More of rest atypical chest pain. No history of any dyspnea or orthopnea or palpitations. He was advised to undergo heart surgery if worsening symptoms after getting evaluated outside, and hence he came here for second opinion, sir.
No, he came because his symptoms became worse, or
No, sir. He was just since he was advised for heart surgery elsewhere, he came here, sir.
they didn't advise heart. They said in future it will be necessary, isn't it?
Yes, sir. He
If-
just wanted to get a second opinion
Second
since there
opinion,
was
okay.
some heart problem. Heart problem
Okay.
is there. He
Okay,
just-
Amudan and Raja, if you want to ask any questions, you must ask now. Otherwise, you can go to the next slide.
His symptoms were only atypical chest pain, no dyspnea at all. He was
No
normal.
dyspnea at
So
all.
why did he go to the hospital only for chest pain evaluation?
Only for atypical chest pain evaluation for 3 months on and off.
Evaluation.
Very localized pain, non-radiating.
Go back to the previous slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So
that
for
was
this,
one question.
that
Any other
hos-
question, Raja and Amudan? See,
So for this, that hospital advised open heart surgery immediately.
No, they said that if worsening symptoms, he will require heart surgery. Since there is a cardiac issue, he wanted to get a second opinion also. Hence he came here.
anything else you want to know from the history?
Any loss of consciousness, other symptoms?
No, sir. No,
No.
sir.
See, some important questions you are not asking, no? One is, when was the heart disease first noted? Did he know when he was a child, when he was a young boy? When was it first noted? Was it noticed earlier, or it was noticed only now?
No, sir. He was not known case of any previous cardiac illness at all.
Right. Is he on any medication?
No, sir. Now
Yes,
he
no.
is not on any medication.
Any
He just consulted cardiologist 3 days back and then he came here.
Oh, what is his functional class?
Functional class 1.
Class
NYHA
1.
class 1.
Class 1. So don't you think these questions are important, Amudan? Amudan and Raja, please keep your mic on. Huh?
Yes, sir.
See, you have to know when the heart disease was first noted. You must know what medication the patient is on. And secondly, and thirdly, what is the third one I said?
Functional class.
Functional class. These are three very common. These questions come to all heart diseases, not only to this fellow. Any heart disease patient, you have to ask these three questions. Okay, go on.
On examination, he was comfortable, sir, no issues. Heart rate of pulse was 80 per minute, regular, collapsing in nature, whisperance in character, felt in all peripheral pulses. His right upper limb BP was 130 by 60. JVP was not elevated. Other limb BP was not noted in the OPD, so he came as OPD patient. Cardiovascular examination, apical impulse was seen and felt in the fifth intercostal space, just lateral to the mid-clavicular line. S1 and S2 are here normally. There is a high-pitched early diastolic murmur with a grade of 3 by 6, best heard in the third left intercostal space. No other any additional sounds were here. Other system examinations were normal.
Yes, guys, you two guys, any more information you want on physical examination?
The BP in lower limbs.
No, sir, it was not measured. He came as a OPD patient. We couldn't. He was not measured.
That's not a good answer, Surya. You mean to say lower limb BP is not recorded in the outpatient?
Yes, sir. It was not recorded, sir.
Yeah, you
I
say
got
it is not recorded, that's different, but don't say that because he came to OPD.
No, sir. It was not recorded. Sir.
Yeah. So omission. Yeah, any other question?
Any additional parasternal impulses you could see?
No, sir. No parasternal pulses. No thrill.
No systolic murmur?
No systolic murmur was here, sir. It's what.
Okay.
Thrills?
Thrill. No thrill. No thrill. Grade 3 by 6 early diastolic murmur only.
Okay, go on.
Any murmurs in the back or?
What do you mean on the back? Where? Back where?
Interscapular area, sir.
No, sir.
What do you have in mind?
It's looking like LV obstructive lesions, no, sir. So
It looks like what? Sorry, I can't hear you.
left ventricular obstructive lesions. He's telling Bispherians character pulse.
Mm-hmm. So you think he has got an obstructive lesion?
Yes, sir.
Obstructive lesions causes collapsing pulse. Does it?
No, sir. No, sir.
Huh? What is collapsing and what is Bispherians? Can you tell me, Raja?
Bispherians is it's having two peaks, sir. It's a biphasic pulse which is having two peaks. Means one is when the LV outflow obstructive lesions are present, the initial peak is low, and next due to the
Go on.
it is due to the two cardiac cycles per this one, sir, per aortic waveform with two peaks per cardiac cycle. One which is small one followed by one which is broad one.
You can't. No, you should talk like a cardiologist. You should not talk like a layman. The broad one, first one, second one, and all of the every wave has a name. Okay, and so what is the typical pulse of LV outflow obstruction called?
The Bispherians pulse.
No. Amazon.
Pulses parvus sir.
So Bispherians is
Any other name? No, Amazon is asking, answering one by one, please. Any other name? Pulse
parvus etatus. Late peaking pulse. Sir.
Anacrotic pulse.
Necrotic.
There is an anacrotic wave, first wave, and then there is a second wave during systole. What is the difference between the Bispherians and anacrotic pulse?
Experience has two peaks in tidal wave.
2 peaks in,
Tidal wave.
okay, and the anacrotic wave, anacrotic pulse.
Anacrotic slow rising pulse.
Okay. So anacrotic is a 2-peaked pulse, but it is a very slow rising and delayed upstroke. Whereas Bispherian pulse is a very brisk upstroke with 2 peaks. Okay. Now
Okay.
Bispherians classically occurs in what condition?
AS with air, HOCM.
No, that is not called
HOCM is
Bispherian. The Bispherian pulse is typically used only for severe AR. Severe AR or AS plus AR. The pulse of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is called, what is it called?
Bifid pulse, sir.
Jerky pulse. It's not a Bispherian pulse.
Bifid, sir.
It can be bifid, yes, but it is not. It's not called Bispherian because again it doesn't have the hyperdynamic quality. The Bispherian pulse is almost always accompanied by severe AR, either alone AR or AR plus AS, this combination, but with a dominant AR. Okay,
Yes, sir.
right. So any other question on physical examination? Okay, so what is your clinical diagnosis, Raja? Come on, you have to be fast now. You can't take so much time.
regurgitation lesions. Probably.
Can't hear you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Physical examination suggestive of regurgitation lesions, sir. Most probably aortic regurgitation. So,
Regurgitation lesion, most probably aortic regurgitation. Is that a way of saying diagnosis? No, that's not a good way of saying diagnosis, no?
aortic regurgitation, sir.
Why don't you say aortic regurgitation? Most probably regurgitation, probably aortic regurgitation. Why don't you say it? You have any other differential diagnosis? Aortic regurgitation. Any other differential diagnosis you have? Amazon. Okay, what is the clinical diagnosis again? No, aortic regurgitation is not enough. Hello? Am I
Yes,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
But nobody is answering. What is the total diagnosis clinically? Anybody? Anybody in the group?
Acquired valvular heart disease, sir.
No, that's not a. I didn't. See, it is aortic incompetence. There's no need to beat around the bush. You got any other differential diagnosis of early diastolic murmur with collapsing pulse?
No, sir.
Sir,
Is there any other differential diagnosis?
the differentials, rupture, 26 years old male, sir. Rupture of sinus of Valsalva could be there, sir.
You think ruptured
But-
sinus valve will call only early diastolic murmur?
If it is rupture is going to be in rupture is going to be in the LV, the early diastolic murmur can be there, sir.
Okay, that's a very
But-
that's the most uncommon form of ruptured sinus of Valsalva. So you have to.
Yes,
You
sir.
can say that it's a differential diagnosis. What is your first diagnosis?
first is an aortic regurgitation, sir.
Mild or
It is
severe?
Sir, it is it is
Severe, sir, because pulse pressure difference is
No reason. I'm asking you just mild or severe. Just choose one.
severe,
Mild,
sir.
sir. Mild, sir. Mild, sir.
Oh God, we are having a difference of opinion now. So mild and another one is severe. Okay. So anyway, one person says severe aortic regurgitation, another person says mild aortic regurgitation. Okay. Then anything else you can say from the physical examination and history? Is he compensated or not? He's
Sir, he's
functional class.
young.
Don't you think all those things come in the diagnosis?
Compensated.
Compensated, functional class. You don't think that's part of the diagnosis?
Yes.
And what about etiology? You never talked about etiology. What is the cause of AR?
Congenital bicuspid aortic valve, sir.
How did you arrive at the diagnosis?
Sir, the age, sir, 26 years, sir. So if the patient is going to, sir, if the patient is etiology could be like a rheumatic, sir. If the rheumatic is there, isolated aortic regurgitation without any involvement of mitral is.
So did you ask any question? Did you ask any history of rheumatic fever? Did you ask any apical mitral murmurs? Did you ask anything? Now suddenly you are saying rheumatic fever is coming to going. Did you ask for a history of rheumatic fever? Did you ask whether he was on penicillin prophylaxis? Did you ask whether there's any mitral murmur specifically questions? Then you said ruptured sinus and Valsalva. The most common forms of ruptured sinus alva produce continuous murmurs or loud systolic and diastolic murmurs. So whenever I ask for more questions, ask for more information, you must think of all the other possibilities and ask relevant questions. Only then I know that you are thinking on the right lines. So what I find from this history and examination is that the patient history and physical signs are suggestive of severe aortic incompetence as an isolated lesion. If I would like to ask Surya once again, if there is any history of rheumatic fever in the past, was he on penicillin prophylaxis at any stage? Thirdly, any apical murmurs, mitral systolic or mitral diastolic murmurs?
So one more important information I didn't mention here was patient height, sir. Height, arms for Marfan syndrome.
Wonderful. You shouldn't tell that unless these people ask. The next question I was going to ask is, what are the cause of isolated aortic incompetence? And these fellows are not asking questions. Now, why should we give them the information? We'll give them information only if they ask. Otherwise, we won't give them. So now we have no evidence of mitral valve disease, no history of rheumatic fever. So we have isolated aortic incompetence. So yes, Amudan, what are the causes of isolated aortic incompetence?
Sir, Marfan's bicuspid aortic valve.
Is that the most common? Marfan's is the most common?
Bicuspid aortic valve.
Bicuspid aortic valve.
Okay. So bicuspid aortic valve, Marfan syndrome. What else? Hey, this is a basic MBBS question. What are the causes of AR? I'm asking. What's the problem?
Other causes of valvular lesions, such as unicuspid.
No vague answers. Just give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Unicuspid valve, sir, or quadricuspid valve, and congenital absence of any aortic leaflet.
Are you a pediatric cardiologist, chap?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's why you're telling all these congenital problems. Okay. Anyway, but they are not the common causes in adult AR. So you can, once you say bicuspid aortic valve, let's say bicuspid aortic valve and all other congenital anomalies comes as one category. What are the other causes of AR?
Infective endocarditis, sir.
Trauma, infective endocarditis.
Why don't you say all this? Trauma, infective endocarditis. What about lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis? Who will tell all that? Degenerative conditions of the aorta, you have aortic aneurysm, dissection of the aorta. You have to rattle off 10 causes of AR, man. What is it? Why are you taking so long? Isolated AR in an adult male. Bicuspid aortic valve may be the most common disease, rheumatic fever may be the second, or the other way around. After that, you have to rattle off another 10 causes. So now your questions go back to history and physical examination. Is there any physical evidence of Marfan? Is there any evidence of lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis, or ankylosing spondylitis? Any history of trauma? Any history of prolonged fever suggesting infective endocarditis? Anything to suggest that he could have an aortic aneurysm? Like, that will come to after they change the X-ray and all that. So you are supposed to ask all these questions. Okay, Surya, give us those information. You were telling something.
There is no history of any previous rheumatic fever, sir. History suggestive of any rheumatic fever or any history suggestive of any infective endocarditis. No, he is not on any medications for longer time, sir.
Okay.
And regarding examination, his height was around 166 centimeter and weight of around 55 kg, sir. The arm span was not measured actually. It was a mistake, sir, which have been measured. And there is no any evidence of any connective tissue disorders.
So, is there any physical science to suggest Marfan's or not?
No, sir. No.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. So now we are, and there's nothing to, no past suggestion of lupus erythematosus, ankylosing spondylitis, rheumatoid arthritis.
No, sir. No, sir. He was not taking any medication, sir.
Okay. No chest trauma.
No, sir. No chest trauma.
Okay. So now, okay, come on. Now, Amazon, what is the diagnosis? If you want to diagnose bicuspid aortic valve, do you want any more information?
Family history, sir. Family history of bicuspid aortic valve diseases.
Family history of aortic valve disease is bicuspid aortic valve is generally a silent condition. How do you know if a family member had bicuspid aortic valve? He won't know about it.
Patient, any family members, whether undergone any aortic valve replacement or
if he had symptomatic aortic valve disease, he would tell you. But asymptomatic bicuspid aortic valve is the most common condition. So therefore, he may not give you a positive history. There is no family history, Surya?
No, sir. No family history of any cardiac illnesses.
So if you are suspecting bicuspid aortic valve, but you have to ask one more question. You are not asking that.
Any ejection click, sir?
Yeah, that's the most classical finding of bicuspid aortic valve. Surya, was there a click or no?
Yes, sir. The click was there, sir. Ejection click was present, sir.
So he has cleverly forgotten to write it in the slide, but you fellows, unless you ask for it, he won't tell you that. So he had an ejection click. Okay. So what is the diagnosis now? Now tell me the total diagnosis. Come on, Amazon, or who is going to tell? Somebody be alert, come on.
Bicuspid aortic valve, severe aortic regurgitation in sinus rhythm without congestive cardiac failure, NOH class 1, without infective endocarditis.
Okay. Is it only aortic regurgitation or there is aortic stenosis also?
Only aortic
regurgitation.
How do you know?
There is no signs of any aortic stenosis.
Suppose I say, no, he has got a combination of AR plus AS. Suppose I say, what is your point against it?
If AR is severe, then there cannot be AS.
No, but you said mild AR. Come on, you can't change your diagnosis.
Mild AR.
You said mild AR, no?
Yes, sir.
Then
Only diastolic murmurs, sir. No systolic murmurs we could heard.
I say systolic murmur is probably not. No, okay. What? Any other reason? What is the pulse pressure?
The pulse pressure.
Pulse pressure is high, sir.
Sir, it's 70.
You think
70.
aortic stenosis will have a pulse pressure of 70?
No, sir, no.
No, I think you guys are not alert. I think you are just not alert, not thinking on the right lines at all. How can you have a aortic stenosis with a pulse pressure of 70? Can you?
No, sir, no.
Okay. So I don't think there's any evidence of AR. I'm sorry, AS. I think it's only isolated AR with no significant aortic obstruction. Okay. Okay, next. What do you want to do now?
Blood investigation.
What blood investigation? Hey, come on, Amazon. Don't say blood investigations. What, you want to do COVID test? Or you want to do cholesterol, lipid profile? You are inviting trouble when you answer that.
Complete hemogram, sir.
Is that the most important the thing you need now to help make a diagnosis? In the OPD, that's what you do first, is it? The moment a severe AR patient comes to you, you do complete hemogram. Is that right?
We'll see the X-ray and echo, sir. Next.
No. Amazon, do you understand what you are saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, you have to talk of tests which will help you make a diagnosis. In this case, hemogram will come for assessing him for severity of symptoms, to plan procedures and all that. It will come later. You have to order the investigation which are relevant to this patient. Okay, so let's see the ECG or X-ray, whatever you want to show.
ECG first.
Yes, come on, quick, don't waste time. Who's answering?
So normal sinus rhythm with a heart rate of I couldn't see the OS, sir. Around 70 or 80. Coming on to chamber enlargement, there is LVH. The AVL is around
Don't need to tell you. Go on.
7 or 12 mm. LVH. Left axis deviation.
How much left axis? How much left axis? Guys, a cardiologist taking so long to determine axis doesn't speak too good.
AVL appears taller than lead 1, sir. It's around 30, sir. Axis. Preferred axis around 30, sir.
Lead 2 is positive, so it cannot be more left axis than minus 30. It has to be between 0 and minus 30. So it is actually minus 15. Minus 15 is just still normal. Up to minus 30 in adults is considered normal. So I don't think there is any significant left axis. Okay, or you can say the axis is more towards left side than right side. That I agree, but I don't think it's any significant left axis deviation. Left ventricular hypertrophy. Anything else? Any other finding? Any negative finding? You know, one thing you notice, every class since I started teaching you guys, I ask the same question. But again, I take the same time in getting the answer. Every ECG you're supposed to tell me other finding. Every ECG you're supposed to tell me negative findings. But you never tell that unless I ask you.
There is no Q in V5 and V6,
Okay.
which we expect a volume overload, but there isn't any.
Okay. What else? What else did you look for?
No left atrial enlargement, sir.
Yeah, why do you take so long to tell? When you have left ventricular hypertrophy, don't you look for left atrial hypertrophy? Yes, what else? When you have left ventricular hypertrophy, what else do you look for?
Conduction abnormalities, so, sir, whether any presence of LBB, left anterior ME block.
Something more important than that, man. When you have LVH, don't you look for ST segment and T waves?
Yes, sir.
Is there ST depression anywhere, biphasic T waves anywhere?
One in aviated.
So you don't want to describe that. It's not important, is it? Is it important or not?
Yes, sir, important. Sir.
What does it mean? What does LVH with ST depression mean? What is it called?
Strain pattern, sir.
Amazon, don't you know it's called strain pattern?
Strain pattern, yes, sir.
LVH with strain?
Yes, sir.
Anything else can cause that pattern? Anybody?
Mild air, it is not compatible.
So then why do you say it is compatible? Neither the physical signs are compatible with mild AR, nor the ECG is compatible with it. Physical signs suggest he has written a collapsing pulse in one place, another place he has written Bispherian pulse, and then he has written a wide pulse pressure. All those means mild AR or more than mild AR?
Actually, the diastolic BP is 60, sir. If it is severe,
That's
I would
okay.
expect
I
at
gave you
least
two
30 or
choices,
20.
mild versus severe. Which one will you choose? That's all I want.
Mild, sir.
Still you're choosing mild.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't agree with you. Okay. Between the two, if I'm given a choice, I would still choose severe because the pulse pressure is wide. Mild AR will not cause wide pulse pressure of 70. Secondly, he has got LVH with strain. Now, okay. So,
The apical impulse is also not shifted, sir. It's a fifth intercostal space.
okay. Let's see that. There are some confusing findings in that. But I think
Yes, sir.
the ECG, all the other findings are subjective. Surya could have made a mistake in apical impulse. He could have made a mistake in his blood pressure. But the ECG cannot be, no mistake can be made in the ECG by Surya. You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Surya's finding can be defective, but ECG findings is absolute.
Yes, sir.
So you should use your common sense also that way.
Okay.
Right. Next one.
Test X-ray, sir. This is test X-ray.
See, when I say severe, don't think I'm diagnosing severe AR and I'm sending up for surgery now. I don't mean that. I'm talking purely from a hemodynamic point of view. Mild versus more than mild. That's what I mean by severe. Whether he needs intervention, whether it's for intervention and all, we'll see later. That's a separate severe diagnosis altogether. At the moment, or let us call it significant AR versus insignificant AR. That is a better word for you people to understand. Is the AR significant or is the AR insignificant? That might be easier for you to understand. So everything points to significant AR.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, go on. X-ray, quick. We're taking too much time.
Chest X-ray PA view, sir. Showing situs solitus, stomach, gastric shadow present on the
All
left
right,
side.
situs solitus is done, no? That's it. No, don't, come on, move on.
No cardiomegaly, sir. And apex appears to be LV type, and
By the way, it's not the apex which is LV type. Apex is not a radiological finding. Apex is a palpatory finding, point of maximal impulse. Here, the cardiac contour or cardiac configuration appears to be left ventricular type.
yes, sir.
Okay, don't say apex is left ventricular type.
Cardiac.
Okay, then go on.
With pulmonary vascular appears to be mildly increased, sir. Increased pulmonary vascularity.
You mean plethora?
Not mildly increased.
Yeah, mildly increased what? Vasculature means, I think you mean the flow is increased?
Yes, sir.
How can it increase in AR?
Pulmonary vasculature looking prominent.
There's no. I don't know which year are you in?
Second year.
Okay. You must know that there is no such thing as pulmonary vasculature in cardiology. All we have in X-ray is we can have either pulmonary plethora, or we can have pulmonary venous hypertension, or we can have pulmonary arterial hypertension. Only these three things we have. We have no such thing as vasculature. The vasculature has to be described in one of these three terms, other than normal. It can be normal, it can be showing plethora, it can be showing pulmonary venous hypertension, it can be showing pulmonary arterial hypertension, or some combination. So don't use the word vasculature is increased. Vasculature is a very, very vague term. That means you don't know what you are talking. Because vasculature includes arteries, veins, capillaries, interstitium, bronchi, it includes everything. That means you don't know what you are talking. So, is there plethora here? Amadan, is there plethora here?
There is no plethora, sir.
No, because you don't see end-on vessels, you don't see particularly dilated hilar vessels, and the vessels do not reach up to the periphery in a dilated manner. Is there pulmonary venous hypertension or not?
Yes, a grade 1 pulmonary venous hypertension.
Okay, possibly some upper lobe veins are prominent, and some pulmonary venous hypertension may be present, but it's not severe because you don't think it is severe because?
I don't see any curly A or B lines.
Okay. We don't see any curly line, we don't see any fluffy shadows of pulmonary edema and all that. Is there pulmonary arterial hypertension?
Pulmonary artery is not dilated, sir. There is no pulmonary arterial hypertension.
So, Dr. Raja, did you understand how to describe a
Yes,
chest
sir.
X-ray?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, this X-ray is compatible with your diagnosis of severe significant AR or not, Amudan?
No, sir, I expect
No,
LV enlargement, but there is no LV enlargement at all.
Okay. So, the
No
X-ray is a
cardiac
little
level.
confusing now. X-ray doesn't fit with severe AR, significant
yes, sir.
AR.
Yes, sir.
So, this is not exactly compatible with what we thought. Okay. Next finding.
It was.
Okay, go on. You're going to play and explain, or you want to Amazon to explain?
I got a video, sir.
Okay, play it. And not playing.
Not played, sir.
You know what? I think you should know how to put a video for playing in a PowerPoint. The video from which you have inserted in the PowerPoint should be in the same folder.
Yes, sir. It is there only, sir. Last week it got deleted, but this week I think network issues maybe.
Oh, come on. Now what do we do? Okay, then you describe it. We cannot help it. Now we cannot see the video. Give us the findings. None
Had
of
a
the
very
videos.
had a very good short access, sir. I wanted to show.
Yeah, even this still frame shows some features. Let it show one by one. Show the first ones. Unfortunately, we don't have a first one. Before this, there was one. No? Yes. Amazon,
Sir.
go on. What do you see here? Unfortunately, we have only a still frame. Like OPD patient bring photograph from another hospital, no? Like that. So you have to interpret this. Come on.
Parasternal long axis view.
Hmm.
Couldn't see the aortic valve. Aorta looks dilated.
Hmm? Why do you say dilated?
No measurements are there. I couldn't. I'm not sure, sir.
Why did you say dilated? There are no measurements? Can't you measure in this? Can't you measure here? Surya, show him the scale where it is. Can't you see there is a scale there?
Yes, sir.
So you can judge, you can approximately measure it. Surya, I'm sorry, Amazon. Can you see the scale or not?
Yes, sir.
You must know that if you don't, somebody has not measured and marked it, you should be able to judge whether the aorta is dilated or not. Secondly, any other clue to aortic dilatation in this view?
We'll compare with the LA
Yes.
size, sir.
So is the aorta and LA both are same size? What does it mean?
Aorta is dilated, sir.
Huh?
Dilated.
If aorta and LA is same, aorta is dilated, is it? Oh my God. Normally LA and aorta are nearly the same size.
That should be more than L.
If one of them is bigger than the other, then you call it dilated. But there's only, so I don't think that aorta appears dilated here at all. The only doubt whether I have is, you're not seeing the aortic sinus and sinutubular junction. So one of the earliest sign of dilatation is obliteration of the sinutubular junction. Whenever aortic root gets dilated, the sinutubular junction will get obliterated. So that is possible, that mild aortic dilatation, but otherwise aortic dimension appears normal. Okay. What about LV dimension? What do you feel? roughly about 5 centimeters, no? 5, just over
Yes, yes.
5 centimeters,
50.
5.5. So,
50, yes, yes.
is that normal or
Looks
abnormal?
dilated, sir.
Dilated.
What is an upper
Plain.
limit of normal for adult LV size?
Around 45.
55, sir.
Amudan, I'm sorry, I think this is not at all satisfactory.
Men it is
In systolic is
40
30,
to
sir. In diastolic is 45 to 50, sir.
What is the upper limit of normal, I asked. I didn't ask you the average. Average is 45, I know that. In an adult male of normal size, anything up to 55 millimeters is normal, diastolic dimension.
okay.
You must know the normal values. In a very tall and big adult, even 60 millimeters may be normal. Okay, so this LV either is normal or mildly dilated. I don't know the exact dimension, but it doesn't appear to be more than 55. Okay, the mitral valve is thin and normal, and the aortic valve, we want to make a comment? At least you know that it's not thickened, it's not calcified, it is not obstructed, it's not in the middle of the lumen. At least that much you should say, no? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, next frame.
Sir, can you just try, sir? 1 second.
Yeah, try. The other thing you can do is, directly play from the video. But then you'll have to close the PowerPoint and then show it on the screen. As a video separately, not in PowerPoint.
It's visible, sir, now?
No. I can see only the PowerPoint. Did you share PowerPoint or did you share a screen? Desktop?
I will share the screen, sir.
No. Initially, did you share the...
I shared PowerPoint. Now I will share the screen.
Share desktop always.
Is it visible, sir, my screen?
Yeah, it's at the... Yeah, now I can see. I can see your screen, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, now it's playing. So, Amudan, come on, comment quickly. Play it again.
Parachannel long axis view showing the mitral valve is not thickened and it doesn't show any features of rheumatic heart disease. The aortic valve is thickened, sir, and
Highly
calcified.
thickened, yes. But it is opening very well. That's it. See,
Yes.
all the other comments you made was I'm not interested. The most important comment you didn't make.
Okay.
Aortic valve is opening normally because we are suspecting bicuspid aortic valve, whether it's associated aortic stenosis. The aortic valve is opening very well, mildly thickened. And, okay, color Doppler, we want, color Doppler anything?
Color Doppler is showing aortic regurgitation, but I want to see the jet area there.
Okay. Go on,
Vena
next.
contracta and jet area.
Yeah, next. Short axis.
Short axis view of LV.
Yeah, freeze it now. Freeze it,
I,
Surya. What does it show?
fluttering of AML, sir, due to air.
Where is the flutter? See, that's not the way to describe, no? You should describe what phase.
Diastolic fluttering of
Why don't you say that? Diastolic flutter of the mitral valve. Can you point it out for people to see? Okay. Play. Is there any evidence of LV enlargement in this echo?
short
You
axis view.
you didn't comment on the E septal distance. Can't you see in M mode the E peak of E wave to the septal distance is increased. Therefore, there is an indirect evidence of LV dilatation. Although the LV dimension doesn't appear to too abnormal, but E to septal distance is increased. Okay, next.
Aortic short axis.
Short axis view of the aortic valve showing bicuspid morphology of the aortic valve.
That's all?
Reverse classification.
Also
you want to
opening well, sir.
Yes, what else? Amazon, you're not describing the valve at all. It's opening well, it is not calcified. Don't you want to say that?
Yes, sir.
Fusion is between NCC and RCC.
And the left cuspis seems to be prolapsing, sir.
Left what?
Posterior cuspis seem to be prolapsing, sir.
Why do you say prolapsing in short axis? Cannot say prolapse in short axis.
During diastole, there is buckling.
But how can you say prolapsing is going to a lower level? How can you say? Okay, go on. Next, please.
The dimension. M mode across the aortic valve. The parasternal long axis. This M mode across the mitral.
Yeah, come on. Who's answering? Okay, LV, come on.
Every diastole is around 62 mm, sir. And systole is around 39. It is dilated, sir.
I've told you so many times in the past, don't say dilated, no? 58 also is dilated, 79 also is dilated, 96 also is dilated. But there is a difference in your report, no?
Mildly dilated.
So why don't you learn to describe in a complete manner? What else?
Ejection fraction is normal.
Okay.
Because method.
Okay, go on.
Septum is also mildly thickened, sir. It is 15.
What is that? Sorry?
Septum, sir. 15 cm.
Okay.
1.5 centimeters. Mildly thickened.
Is the septal measurement very accurate in this case? Can't you see the RV is not seen at all?
Yes, sir.
So how can a septal measurement be very accurate in this case? You're not seeing the right ventricular border of the septum at all. Okay, next, Surya.
In this, we have to, this is the M mode across the aortic valve, sir, in the parasternal long axis. We have to look at the closure of the aortic valve in this view, sir. A bicuspid aortic valve will have eccentric closure.
Yeah, if No, there is a slight catch there. If the eccentric closure line is there, then it helps to suspect bicuspid aortic valve. But if you have a central closure line, it does not exclude bicuspid aortic valve, because it depends on the which angle you are cutting the valve. Therefore, if it is eccentric closure line in M mode, it is suggestive of bicuspid valve. But if you have a central closure line, it can be bicuspid or it may not be bicuspid, both.
Okay. That doubt I have.
Okay. Next one. But one thing is, you can see that the aortic valve is opening fully. The aortic opening is complete in the M mode. Therefore, there cannot be much of aortic stenosis. Okay. Next.
Okay. Go to aortic A4C.
Okay. That's okay. Go to the next one, Surya. We will just, because already 3 o'clock, we want to discuss some ECG also. Go to the next one.
This is the color, sir. And the arch.
Yeah, what does it show, Raja?
Showing holodiastolic flow reversal.
Okay. Okay, next.
We put a strain also, sir.
Okay, what does it show?
Minus 12 point.
Global strain?
Global strain was minus 12.5.
Minus?
12.5.
Okay.
12.5.
What does it mean? Minus 12, what does it mean? Go, Amudan.
There is LV dysfunction is there, sir.
No. Raja, is it? Okay.
Manoj, sir.
Manoj. Okay. Global strain, it suggests LV. Don't say LV dysfunction. No, that's not the right term. Just tell me, what does the global
LV
strain of
dysfunction is
12
there, sir,
indicate? What is minus 12? Normal, abnormal?
Clinically, the AF has been abnormal, sir.
Abnormal. What is the normal global strain expected to be?
It's minus 18 to minus 22, sir.
Okay. Above minus 16 is normal. So below that, it's suspect that the strain is decreased. Whether it is indicative of global dysfunction, we have to confirm. But it doesn't automatically diagnose dysfunction. Okay.
But
Right.
in this strain, there is the more of the dysfunction is seen in infralateral areas, sir.
Yeah. Can you point it out in the bullseye?
In the bullseye, we can see, yes, sir. The inferior segments, the infrabasal segments and lateral segments are showing the very poor. And in the polar also, we can see that there is a dyskinetic pattern, sir. The previous image, sir.
Yeah.
The other areas are showing a very good, yes, sir. In the previous that.
Which?
Yes, sir. The green one, sir. The green one, which is showing that there is an.
That's a
Yes, sir,
posterobasal area.
Yes, a posterobasal area, so showing the dyskinetic movements, sir, compared with the other areas. And also the blue one and green one are showing. Others are having a good post-systolic contraction is also good, sir. But these two areas are showing a very poor contraction, sir.
Okay.
It is also seen in the polar bullseye, sir.
Okay.
Can this be correlated to the direction of the jet which is hitting the LV, sir? Because of chronically it is hitting the LV in that posterior and lateral area, causing strain, a decreased strain in this.
No, we'll come to that later in interpretation. So it indicates that one area is not, the systolic strain is reduced, but it's not uniform throughout. Okay. And it is more in the posterobasal segment. That's all? Okay. No?
So descriptive detail, LV measured about 32 millimeters. LV internal diameter measured around 63, sir. It was a typing error. Then diastole and insisted it was around 40
Typing error
millimeters.
means, it was 63.
63, sir. 63.
Okay.
LV end-diastolic volume of 156 ml and systolic volume of 74 with ejection fraction of 52. No obvious regional wall. There is AR PHT of 310 milliseconds. With aortic annulus 22 millimeters, ascending aorta of 33 and arch of 22 millimeters. Bicuspid aortic one, anteroposterior positions. No evidence of any aortic stenosis.
No, wait. You haven't. So LV function is normal. Where's the ejection fraction? 52. Low
Ejection
normal.
fraction 52.
Hmm.
So normal.
You haven't commented upon segmental LV motion at all. Okay. So Amudan or anybody wants to comment on this echo report? Some of the findings are contradictory. They don't fit with each other. So I think whoever reported the echo hasn't thought about it. What are the unusual things here?
So in spite of severe aortic regurgitation, LV is not dilated.
You only said LV is dilated, now you're telling LV is not dilated. You said LV is dilated 63 millimeters and all that.
It is only mildly dilated, but severe aortic regurgitation, followed diastolic flow reversal and all, I expect more dimensions in LV.
Okay. Anything else? Anything other unusual things you're seeing here? Can't you see the dimension 63 for adult male? 63 is just mildly dilated, not a very large one. However, the volume is 156 ml. What is the normal volume of LV? What is the normal volume of LV and what is the upper limit of normal? No, one of the problem is, you guys are all discussing very high flying things, You want to discuss like TAVI and TAVR and Doug eluting stents and bifurcation stents or all those things. And you fellows don't want to learn basics of echo, normal values of M mode, normal volumes of LV and all. That's the problem with you people. And that's what reflects in your performance also. Very big things. You have a seminar, you have a webinar on intervention, you'll find everybody is logging on. But you don't want to learn basics stuff. You have to be a basic good clinician before you can be a good interventionist. What is the normal upper limit of normal for LV volume? Anybody?
Upper limit is around 150.
Oh my God. 150?
Males is 110, sir.
I'm sorry, you're all
Females
wrong.
is 90, sir.
I'm sorry. The normal values are only 50 to 60 and upper limit of LV volume is 80. So this LV volume is almost double. We lost your screen.
No, not seen, sir.
No. LV volume upper limit of normal is 80, maximum 85. 156 diastolic volume is almost double the normal. Whereas M mode suggests only mildly dilated LV. How do you explain that? Yeah, the answer is very simple, no? M mode measures only one axis. That is why we do all the Simpson method and other 3-dimensional, 3D volumes and all, no? The LV may not expand so much in one dimension, but it may expand in another dimension. LV has got 3 dimensions, no? Length, breadth and the other third dimension. So if one dimension is mildly increased, maybe it's more dilated in the other dimension. So you can have a one dimension not so dilated, but LV volume still big. Why can't you have it? Because M mode measures only one axis, whereas volume measures 3 axes. So that is quite possible. So yeah, I want the screen back if possible. Are you there? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
What happened to Surya? He's lost his connection, I think. Anyway, the other thing is we thought it was significant AR. What was the pressure half time? Nobody commented on that. What was the pressure?
310, sir.
Around
Huh?
310, sir.
So 310 is what is
Moderate.
it? Huh?
Moderate, sir.
Yes.
Less than 200 is severe.
So it does not suggest severe AR.
Yes, sir.
So there's something confusing here. Some points in favor of severe AR, some points in favor of mild AR. It's a bit confusing. The chest X-ray is absolutely normal. The LV dimension is not much increased. Volume is increased. Blood pressure is moderately increased. Pulse pressure is moderately increased. Therefore, there's no conclusive evidence of severe AR and there's no conclusive evidence of mild AR. Normally, I don't like the word moderate because the word moderate is used by people when they don't know how to commit, whether to commit to significant or not significant. But now that we have committed to significant, within significant, if you want to make a moderate and severe category, yes, you can. It is moderate significant AR. Because everything doesn't fit with severe significant AR. Severe significant AR means diastolic pressure will be 20 or 0, LV would be 7 centimeters, the pressure half time will be 200 milliseconds. Everything would fit in. If everything doesn't fit in, probably it is significant, but it's not severe, but still on moderate, bordering moderate. Okay. So that's the way to approach it. But normally, I would not like the term moderate at all because moderate means people don't know how to conclude. It's all right to diagnose moderate once you have done all the investigations and taken everything into account. Okay. So what next? So what is your recommendation now? You got bicuspid aorta. Yeah, any other information you want, by the way? Any other information you want? Anybody, please.
Flow reversal in the arts.
Flow reversal he told, no? There was a diastolic flow reversal in the descending aorta. He already told. Any other information people want?
Hello, sir. Am I audible now, sir?
Yes.
Sorry, sir. There was some connection loss, sir.
We can calculate regurgitation volume and regurgitation fraction to assess
Yes.
better of AR.
Okay, that is one. Okay, what else? Something? Yes, you can calculate regurgitation fraction. Agreed.
The cusp morphology.
Okay, what are the accompanying problems in bicuspid aortic valve?
Ascending aorta.
Huh?
Quiet.
Arch.
Don't you want to know about aortic dilatation?
Yes.
Don't you want to know? What is your comment on aorta here? You never commented on that. Don't you know that aortopathy is part of bicuspid aortic valve?
Yes, ascending aorta is 33 mm, sir. It's
What is your comment?
normal, sir.
Okay. So it's important you comment that. So now what is your total diagnosis?
Bicuspid aortic valve with moderate AR, mild LV dilatation in functional class 1, sinus rhythm and no pulmonary artery hypertension and no evidence of infective endocarditis.
Okay. Next slide. Okay, Surya, last slide also you're writing moderate to severe. No, that's a very one. You finished all the tests and still you're calling it moderate to severe. Means the patient will say this cardiologist doesn't know anything. He's still not sure after doing so many tests. Okay.
It's moderate aortic regurgitation.
Okay. So what do you want to do now? What do you want to do now?
So we have advised him for
No,
follow.
let them answer. Let them answer. Amudan. Is he there or not?
Yes, sir.
We'll do medical follow-up only, sir. With
Yeah, why medical follow-up? Why not surgery? AVR.
patient is not symptomatic. He is in functional class
Yeah,
1
but
only.
sometimes we do surgery in my asymptomatic AVR also, no? Do we do sometimes recommend AVR in asymptomatic patients with AR? Do we do that?
Yes, sir.
When?
So when the ejection fraction is low, sir, so less than 50%, or
Okay.
if there is an end diastolic dimension is more than 65 mm.
Okay.
Sir, and in this patient, because there is a global longitudinal strain is decreased, it indicates that the LV dysfunction has started to occur. So better is to go for a aortic valve replacement, sir.
No. Let's talk of conventional things first. Then we'll go to strain. So
Yes, sir.
you normally AVR is recommended for people with symptomatic AR with LV dilatation. Symptomatic severe AR with LV dilatation. However, AVR can be recommended in asymptomatic patients also if there is evidence of
Ejection fraction less than 50% or end diastolic dimension more than 65, or if the patient is going to undergo some cardio CABG, we can advise to undergo AVR. Or if the patient is having a asymptomatic but the aortic root is going to be dilated more than 50 millimeter, then we can advise the patient to undergo aortic valve replacement also, sir.
So Amudan, haven't we discussed this before?
Yes, sir.
Symptomatic AR, asymptomatic AR with LV dilatation, LV dysfunction, accompanying surgery, or aortic dilatation needing surgery are the indications for AVR. What's the problem? When the cutoff is some people say 65 millimeter. Earlier it used to be 70. Now they are saying the diastolic dimension of 65 millimeters, or ejection fraction less than 50%. They're all very common indications we are talking every day, no? Okay. Now we come to LV function. Ejection fraction is normal. LV is only mildly dilated according to our calculation, or mildly or moderately dilated. But there is some suggestion of LV systolic, the global strain being decreased. Okay. Now tell me, will you change your plan because of the global strain?
Yes, sir.
Why? Is there any evidence? Is there any recommendation on in the either the European Society guidelines or in the American guidelines? Whose guidelines are you following?
No, sir, there is no recommendation in AHA or CHC.
You cannot
even
suddenly
before
bring a new investigation which has been described recently just because you got a new toy, the Ecolab. It doesn't mean that you change your plan and you take decisions of AVR. There are numerous fallacies in the determination of strain and TDI. TDI. So I think that requires we discuss on a separate day or by itself. I don't think we will change the plan just because one investigation is showing a abnormal value. However, my suggestion would be to recheck it because global strain is a relatively new investigation. It's only recently being explored. By itself, I don't think it can change a decision. Secondly, one important thing, has there been any new thought on AVR in asymptomatic people? Remember, I took a class for aortic valve hemodynamics with you guys, and I told you all this, and still you are not answering these things. Do you index the values of LV dimensions and then compare with something? See, so far the conventional recommendation has been that the asymptomatic patient, if LV dimension increases to more than 65 millimeters, is an indication. However, 65 millimeters is an absolute value. You cannot apply that to a 5 feet tall man and a 7 feet tall man. You can't apply the same figure. Isn't it? Can you apply the same value of 6.5 millimeters, 6.5 centimeters?
No, sir.
To 7 feet man, body surface area of 2.2, and another man's body surface area is only 1.4. Using the same value, you can apply?
No, sir.
Then how do you compare LV dimension?
You have to index it to body surface area, but if it is more than 25 millimeters square,
If it is more than
25 millimeters square.
25 millimeters per meter square.
Per meter square.
Yeah. There are now indications that 65 millimeters as an absolute value is not a good thing because we may miss out on some patients who have LV dysfunction, borderline LV dilatation may be missed out. Therefore, it is recommended in more recent papers that you index the value of the LV dimension, and anything more than 25 millimeters per meter square may be considered as abnormal LV dilatation. Again, this is not in the guidelines. This is only a suggestion by some recent papers. So many authors are saying that the guideline should be changed to include LV dimensions more than 25 millimeters per meter square. In fact, some authors want to reduce it to 20 per meter square, 20 millimeters per meter square. So these are the recommendations of the recent papers, but they are not yet entered into guideline. In future, it may come into the guideline. All these things we have talked already. There's nothing new in this. We have talked about it in my aortic valve class. We have talked about it in the clinical meetings also. Okay, anything else, Surya?
So it was started on valsartan 40 milligram twice daily, sir, and low dose diuretics, furosemide 20 milligram in the morning.
Why diuretic?
No, sir, it was started, sir.
Why? I want to know. Did you start it?
No, sir. In OPD, sir.
Okay. If it was you, will you start it? If you want to start it, why you want to start it?
No, he's not having any dyspneic symptoms at all, sir.
Will you start it or not?
No, sir.
Then why do you give all these long roundabout answers? There is no indication for diuretic unless there is symptoms of pulmonary venous hypertension. X-ray evidence of pulmonary venous hypertension is not an indication for diuretics. There is no need to give diuretic. Why do you give valsartan?
It was bicuspid aortic valve started on angiotensin receptor blocker, sir.
Why?
For aortopathy, it will affect the metalloproteinase enzyme, sir. thereby decreasing the progression of aortopathy.
Is it a proven effect?
There are some studies that are there.
Amudan?
No,
Is it a
It's a
proven effect?
vasodilator,
I'm
sir.
asking.
not a proven effect. Sir.
Then why are you giving?
No, anecdotal reports are there.
Huh?
The
Anecdotal
AC
reports are
inhibitors,
there.
sir, AC
Come
inhibitors are
on.
given to reduce the systemic vascular resistance, sir. So to
No,
decrease the
that's not a
progression of the
reason.
symptoms.
That's not a reason. Systemic vascular resistance, you cannot reduce in AR because it's already low. Actually, the metalloprotein and the losartan group of drugs being used has been shown to be effective in Marfan syndrome, where aorta is degenerated and dilated, and in Marfan syndrome, it has been shown to be of some benefit. There is no study in bicuspid aortic valve, there is no proof that it will work in bicuspid aortic valve. However, because the medial degeneration is similar in both the conditions, people are just giving blindly in bicuspid aortic valve aortopathy also. There is absolutely no proof for bicuspid aortic valve. Only Marfan's where it may have a beneficial effect. But we have used as an extrapolation because the disease is similar.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. What else?
It's a classification, so Siever's classification, just for revision purpose.
Okay. So type 0, type 1 is the most commonest, 90% of cases. So all practical purpose, the type 1 is the most common, the other two are relatively rare. So what is our type? What is our patient? Which type is
Our
it?
patient had this one, sir, type 1A. Sir.
Type 1A, where right and left appear to be fused and there appear to be a small raphe in that anterior common leaflet. Okay. Okay. Good. Now it's already going to be 3:30. Maybe we'll just discuss one or two ECGs. Amudan, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
I will stop sharing. Sir.
Surya, stop sharing.
Yes, sir.
So visible, sir.
Yes.
So it's a continuation of last ECG discussion. This is a 72-year-old gentleman, a diabetic, status post permanent pacemaker, dual chamber in 2015 in outside hospital for complete out block. At that time, they have mentioned normal LV function. In Jan 2018, he was admitted in our hospital with heart failure. So echo showed dilated cardiomyopathy with severe LV dysfunction. And angio was done, which was normal. So non-ischemic DCM with severe biventricular dysfunction. And recurrently, he had heart failure admission in that year. So the PPI was upgraded to CRTP. And in October 2019, he had atrial flutter. And he got admitted with atrial flutter recurrently.
What is
also.
CRTP? I saw CRTD, I know.
Without defibrillation, only pacing is CRTP.
Okay, CRTP. Oh, CRT with pacing.
Pacing, yes, sir.
But CRT itself is pacing, no? Why do you have to say separately pacing?
Now differentiate between defib and this normal thing.
Okay. But somebody has DCM with biventricular dysfunction.
Actually, defib should be added. Yes.
Okay, anyway, that's right. It will add to the cost. Okay.
Since he had paroxysmal atrial flutter in interrogation past 6 months from October to 2020 Jan, sir has advised AV node ablation, but it was not done. I don't know the reason. Now he got admitted with heart failure in our CCU yesterday, and this was a presenting ECG.
Okay, tell me one thing. Normally, if you have a pacemaker and the patient develops atrial flutter, what will the pacemaker do?
Good afternoon, sir. It senses every flutter beat and produces ventricular tachycardia, sir. Ventricular pacing.
There is something called as mode switch, sir.
No.
It will.
First, let us answer his question first. So, atrial flutter will be at 300. So, the ventricular tachycardia will occur at 300. Is that what you are telling?
No, sir. It occurs at the upper rate limit of what is set in the pacing mode, sir.
So, then why did you say ventricular tachycardia?
Pacemaker mediated.
It can track the atrial rate only up to a certain extent. No, it cannot track forever.
Yes,
or
sir.
to any level. Okay. And then Surya, what are you saying?
There is something called as mode switch, sir. It will change from DDD to mode to VVI, sir. It will
Okay.
pace at whatever set rate which we have kept, sir.
Okay. So it will track up to a certain point, and then it will go into mode switch where it won't track the atrial rate anymore. It will ignore the atrial rate, and it will go into a ventricular inhibited mode. Okay. So this patient came with heart failure, and then he got admitted here. Okay. Tell me. Anybody wants to try? Anybody wants to try? Come on, quick. Already 3:30. Okay, Amazon, you go ahead. You tell us. I don't think anybody is wanting to try. See, it doesn't matter if anybody is wrong. No, it doesn't matter. We should take a chance and use this opportunity to talk. I'm not going to cut your marks or fail you or anything. It is just an opportunity to talk, make mistakes, and learn. Giving a lecture, if one person keeps on talking, another person listening, no? I will talk, Amudan will talk, but by tomorrow morning, everything would be evaporated from your brain. Amudan, you can go ahead, explain what it is.
It's a broad complex tachycardia, sir. I couldn't see any P waves there.
Mm-hmm.
And RBBB morphology.
Okay.
Axis is left axis, sir, towards the left.
Okay.
And I could see some pacing spikes in V5, V6.
V5 and V6. Okay.
And there is a couplet seen, sir. VPC couplet seen.
Okay.
So I want to go in for differentials.
Okay.
It is probably slow VT or accelerated idioventricular rhythms.
Yeah, both mean the same, no? Slow VT and idioventricular rhythm is more or less the same thing. Okay. No, that doesn't matter whether you call it either one of them. Why do you say slow VT? Well, why do you say VT at all for that matter? But you see when you diagnose VT, you should look for white QRS, should look for
Regular
abnormal axis. Then you should look for AV dissociation. Then you should look for concordant pattern in the precordial lead. So you should look for time to peak of the R wave in V1 and time peak of R wave in V6. So all the points, VT, SVT determination. Why did you diagnose? You said your pacemaker impulses are seen in V5, V6 and then you're diagnosing VT. The V5, V6, the QRS complex produce a pacemaker impulses, you said, no?
Yes, sir. Pacing spike.
So then it becomes VT, is it? When pacing spike causes, it becomes VT? Okay, do we know what rate the pacemaker was set?
60 to 130, sir.
Lower
rate is 60 and upper limit is 130.
Upper limit is 130. What is the rate of this tachycardia? What is the rate?
Around 100, sir.
Around 100. Okay. More. Okay, 100. Is it regular or irregular?
It is regular. Irregularity is caused by VPC, sir. But the native impulses are regular.
Okay.
Sir, I have a difference of opinion, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as mentioned by Amudan, there is pacing spike is seen in V5 and V6, sir. And the morphology is same in that in all those regular broad complex fast heart rates, sir. Except there are couplets as well as polymorphic ventricular premature complexes are seen.
What do you mean by polymorphic?
Sir,
only two morphologies I can see. No, where is the polymorphic?
The second beat is different and the third beat is different, sir.
Okay.
So I thought it's of different morphology. And another possibility is the subsequent beat. The fourth beat could be a fusion beat also, sir. That's also a possibility I'm considering, sir. And the subsequent beats all are all regular at an interval of 100, sir. There is no preceding P waves, so everything has a pacing spike. So my first differential diagnosis would be pacemaker set rate is already high, sir. Pacemaker rate is already high. And the pacemaker mediated tachycardia could be a possibility with the very frequent ectopics of polymorphic VPCs.
Okay. So what is pacemaker mediated tachycardia? Can you tell me? Yeah, possible, but good idea. What you thought? I'm not saying no, but I just want you to explain to me what it is.
It is a re-entry tachycardia, sir.
Yeah. Where is the re-entry?
It is a re-entry tachycardia.
Where is the re-entry part?
Sir, antinomically, antigradely, it is the pacemaker lead, sir, and retrogradely, it is through the AV node, sir, to the atria, sir. It occurs due to the decreased warp, sir, P warp, sir.
Did everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Then can you explain to me? Amudan, what is pacemaker mediated tachycardia?
The form of re-entrant tachycardia, sir. Yes. Antigradely the pacemaker impulses and retrogradely the conduction is through AV node.
No, tell me how. I don't understand, so please explain to me in simple language. What is the pathway of tachycardia? explain to me. Come on. I don't care whether you diagnose this ECG or not, but if you don't understand what is pacemaker mediated tachycardia and not able to explain to me, it's no use. And you may have to write a short note in the examination also, what is pacemaker mediated tachycardia. If you can't explain in simple words, they have no meaning. Explain to me, come on. If you can't tell no, then I'll ask somebody else. Come on, don't waste time, no.
The antegrade is via the pacemaker lead and the retrograde is via the AV node, sir.
The same thing you are repeating. Tell me in simple terms, no. My brain doesn't understand that antegrade, retrograde and all. Tell me as if you are telling a medical student.
Yes, sir. Whenever there is an VPC, that VPC is conducted retrograde to the AV node to the atria. That is sensed by ventricle. So ventricle will be paced, sir. So that
Sorry, no, start again.
Whenever there is a VPC in the ventricle, so that VPC will be conducted retrogradely to the atria through the AV node, sir.
Okay.
And that is sensed by ventricle. So the ventricle paces. So the cycles keep on repeating.
Why repeating? Ectopic suffering only once in a while, no? So why should it keep on heart rate remain fast continuously?
It is falling lesser than the post-ventricular atrial refractory period times.
But ventricular ectopy is occurring only once in a while, no? Why should the heart rate be fast all the time? No, you are not understood. Anybody else can explain what is pacemaker mediated tachycardia? Surya.
No, sir.
The pacemaker is producing a ventricular impulse. The ventricular impulse stimulates the ventricle. It also gets conducted through the conduction system retrogradely into the atrium. When it conducts into the atrium, the atrial lead senses it as a P wave. When the P wave is sensed, a certain interval after that, the ventricle has to pace, isn't it? That is a function of a DDD pacemaker.
Yes, sir.
If there is a atrial activity after 110 or 120 milliseconds, the ventricle has to pace. Isn't that the function? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So every ventricular impulse conducts back, picked up by the atrial lead, picked up by the pacemaker, and therefore it produces the next ventricular impulse much earlier. Every time the P wave conducts retrogradely, it produces an R wave. It conducts back and produces the next cycle R wave. Again it conducts back, produces the next cycle R wave. Again it conducts back and produces the next cycle R wave. Can you understand? So the retrograde is the native cardiac tissue, whereas the antegrade limb is through the pacemaker circuit. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that is what is pacemaker mediated. Please go and read today. What is pacemaker mediated tachycardia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So possibility is pacemaker mediated tachycardia with ventricular ectopic activity, multifocal or multiple ventricular ectopic activity. So what did you do?
I reviewed the old ECG, sir. What is the morphology and because it is broad complex, I want to know whether previously the patient had broad complex. So this one is the old ECG, which showed broad complexes, broad QRS complexes with the RBB morphology, same morphology as our ECG.
Okay, but what is the rate here? The rate is not tachycardic, no? It's less, closer to
Rate is not
lower.
tachycardic. 80 is 85.
Okay. So here there is dual chamber pacing or not? Atrial pacing followed by ventricular pacing? Not clear.
Intermittently, sir. Not clear.
Yeah, not clear. Okay. So, so now he has, assuming that he has pacemaker mediated tachycardia, what would you do? He worsened in heart failure because during pacemaker tachycardia, the heart rate increases to around from 70-80 to consistently between 100 to 110. Generally, the rate of the pacemaker mediated tachycardia would be the upper set rate of the pacemaker, no, the tracking rate, whatever the tracking rate is, that would be the upper set rate. That would be the rate at which the pacemaker mediated tachycardia would continue. Therefore, what would we do next to break the tachycardia?
Interrogation, I'll activate the magnet mode so that the sensing is.
Yes, because pacemaker mediated tachycardia is dependent upon pacemaker sensing. Pacemaker senses the atrial activation, retrograde P wave. Therefore, the moment you prevent sensing, this tachycardia will slow down. So, in the short term, temporarily, if you want to correct it, you can just use a pacemaker magnet, either the interrogation magnet or even an ordinary magnet you can put on the pacemaker. It will prevent the persistent increase in the heart rate. However, for long-term increase, what do you do? Long-term prevention. Well, okay, I think you should go and read. There is a parameter called PVARP.
Post-ventricular atrial refractory
Atrial
period.
refractory. You have to increase that refractory period, duration. Please go and read, then only you will understand. I can't teach this from online unless I draw a diagram. Please go and read how to avoid pacemaker mediated tachycardia and how to adjust PVARP.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else on this patient?
Yes, sir. This was the ECG after 2 hours. Sir. He was on Lasix bolus followed by infusion. The patient had sudden onset palpitation, but BP was his baseline BP was 160, and when this ECG was taken, his BP was 90/60.
What do you think happened? What do you think happened?
Patient is gone for hemodynamically unstable VT.
Okay. So runs of VT.
Runs of VT, yes, sir.
Yes.
Non-sustained.
Ill-sustained VT, but when the frequency of ill-sustained VT is very high, it has the same hemodynamic effect as sustained VT, isn't it? So most
Yes,
of this
sir.
rhythm strip is having VT.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what did you do?
I stopped the Lasix infusion and started him on.
Why do you think Lasix caused it? Was he already on diuretics at home?
Yes, sir. He was on oral diuretics, sir. Furosemide and aldactone.
Okay. So you stopped Lasix, and then what did you do?
I checked for potassium, sir, and Lasix could have caused low BP and dysalkyltemia, hypokalemia. So I stopped the Lasix and started him on Cardron since it is ill-sustained VT, sir. And within an hour, the rate came down to 80, and he was okay, sir, with Cardron. I didn't give DC shock.
Potassium hypokalemia is one thing. Anything else you can check for? Or you want to do in the presence of this patient? Suppose he having recurrent VT, he didn't settle with amiodarone also.
Magnesium.
Yes, magnesium. You have to give magnesium. This is a chronically diuretic patient. Magnesium deficiency is very, very common.
I didn't check for it, but I gave I gave immediately.
What do you check for? How do you check for magnesium deficiency?
Clinically, sir?
No. He said I didn't check for it. He said no. I want to know what he didn't check. What did he want to check? Most of the time, serum calcium and serum magnesium has no correlation with arrhythmia. The serum magnesium has no correlation with intracellular magnesium. Therefore, if your patient is malnourished, and having chronic diuresis and very likely to have magnesium deficiency, it's better to administer magnesium rather than check for it, because the serum level does not correlate with the tissue levels of magnesium. Therefore, we generally give it empirically without any need to check it. Okay?
Yes.
So you gave amiodarone and the whole thing settled down.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you got an ECG on after it settled down?
No, sir. I didn't take a picture.
Okay. Okay then. I'll stop here. That means you got some more ECGs?
Yes, sir. 3 more ECGs.
You keep it there. Like this we'll discuss on one of these terms. We'll discuss it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it's already
Okay.
going to be 4. I think we'll stop here. Now,
Okay.
one thing I'm going to insist is, next time onwards, I'm not going to waste time trying to ask who is going to answer. That's not my job. At the beginning of the class, 2 volunteers are supposed to be present themselves. If there are no volunteers, then I won't take the class. I will cancel it. So please, from next time onwards, 2 or 3 people should volunteer to answer questions. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. We'll meet again next Friday. But we'll try to collect some interesting cases, interesting ECGs, anything interesting. I would prefer clinical cases if somebody can present. If clinical cases are not available, then we'll discuss these hypothetical cases, or like these interesting reports and all that we will discuss. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If there are no questions, I'm going to log off. Any questions so far? Gautam, your case, one case is also pending, no, for discussion?
I think he is logged out, sir.
Okay.
I'll call him.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. Depending on time, but preferably there is a clinical case that would be take priority over everything else.
Yes, sir. I'll organize.
Okay. Right.
Thank
Sir,
Okay. Bye.
Sir,
Yes. Tell me. Somebody wants to ask something?
the pacemaker tachycardia ECG, that one, how they came to, based on the fusion beats, how they came to the diagnosis. That's what I wanted. Hello.
Yeah, I have to sit down with the ECG, and I haven't seen the ECG myself. From what I can see in the screen, it seems to be we have to measure the R wave interval after the ventricular ectopic.
Okay, sir.
Whether that rate is, because once the ventricular ectopic occurs, it would interrupt the tachycardia.
Okay, sir.
So it would from the ventricular ectopic to the first escape beat should be a normal pacing interval.
Okay, sir.
So we have to measure that interval. But very often what happens, pacemaker tachycardia is ectopic will interrupt it, but then it will restart because the retrograde conduction is always there. When ectopic finished, then after the set interval, the pacemaker pacing comes, immediately the retrograde activity happens and the PMT starts again. So that's possible, isn't it?
Yes,
It's
sir.
not that the ectopic will permanently interrupt the PMT. It won't do that. It may not do that.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir. Yeah.